Okay, so I was explaining low relief sculpture. So there's going to be an image transferred onto here, and then you're going to start taking away. So you will have, this will produce more scrap, like, because the stuff's going to need to get a little bit drier in order to carve away from. Like, you can carve now, but when it gets just a little bit drier, and I use kind of dry clay to make this slab anyway, but just so I can just show you a few things. But you're gonna want it to get just a little bit drier to carve into it. It's just, you get cleaner carving out of it. Not super dry, don't get me wrong. And that's the hardest part with you guys being where you are and me being where I am. I can guide you better with the wetness of your clay when we're here together, but that's just not happening. So, all right, so now I need scissors, and I have a really bad design that I'm gonna put on, but this, like I said, this is not something I will keep. I'm just doing this for you. Probably could have saved time and had this cut out already. But so, I have on the paper the shape of my slab, right? It's the same size. Now, one thing I don't want to do, like, when you're starting to transfer an image, like if you get to this point and then, do a few things and stop, like it's gonna be harder to put this back on, because you don't want to leave this on the clay, because the water in the clay is going to, start dissolving the paper in some ways, and sometimes, like, if you use ink, it stays on a little longer. But if you use pencil, like, the pencil will disappear because the paper will get too wet. So you can't really leave this on there. So this is like, when you're ready to transfer the image, do the whole thing. Because this part's going to be disposable, right? So this is going to go on here. Line it up. Yeah, well, I said it's the same size. It's going to be a little off here and there, but that's all right. So just like we did with the lantern project, remember I drew out what I was going to cut out, right? And then I punctured holes through here. So that's how you're going to do this. So we're just transferring this image, right? This may end up being something different, but depending on how detailed your stuff is, you may want to put more holes or less holes. It just depends on what you're doing. Because remember, we're just trying to get where these lines are. I mean, it's really, for me, it's 2 circles in a line, so it's not really hard, but it's enough to show you what you need to know to do whatever it is you got to do. And it's also something that won't take me forever to do. So probably if this were actually, something that I was going to keep and do, I probably would have used something like this and divided my space up and drawn, find something the size that I wanted and draw a better circle. But since you need to know how to transfer the image, that's why I'm doing this. All right, so that should be all of it. So that was fast enough that I could, that's why I did what I did. All right, and peel the paper off. Now your image is transferred on there through all these little holes. So now if you choose, right, you can come in and draw across. Connect your dots, right? Now I'm just barely scratching the surface with this, just so I can connect my dots. I mean, you can leave the dots if you want, if that's how you want to work. But now, my image is on here, and now, I would want to get this drier in order to carve it out. And you want to think in layers, right? So it could be pretty subtle. So whatever is going to be standing out the most is not carved at all, almost, right? It's the stuff around it that starts going downhill, right? So there's things that are going to be at different levels, right? So when you're carving, you want to take little bits out of there at a time, right? And so you don't go too far. You also don't want a really high, the thickest part next to the thinnest part, right? So there should be like a middle ground somewhere in there, because that can end up being like a Hershey bar where it breaks apart, right? That crack, because this is clay, right? So there needs to be some levels carved into this, right? So this, I only have a few sections here, right? But I think maybe I will add some more stuff. That's terrible. All right. This is why we draw lightly, right? Because you can erase it. I just want it to be relatively even compared to that. On the other side. So now I've added more sections, right? So yesterday I talked about, what kind of tools you could use. Now I haven't really, I haven't cleaned up this edge or anything like that, but again, this is one of those times where I can show you a little bit now, but it's going to take, getting this drier to show you more. So, but you can get enough of an idea of this through this that I don't really have to do this anymore. All right. So we have, let's try the paper clip, just a regular paper clip. And now, where am I going to go down? Let's keep this the highest part, this one, and where it connects here, this is going to go lower, and this will go lower. And the paper clip works pretty good, I have to say. Now this level will probably change I know you really, from here to this camera, you probably aren't gonna see too much of this, but I'll move this around so you can see a little more. So I'm just taking a little bit out of this one. And I'm gonna stop here because all these different levels can change. Now you guys have more specific things that you're doing. So you know what's, if you're carving something, if you're carving a hand, all these are kind of the same level and the space in between is, or not, right? You wanna take away from. Just think about what's the highest part. This is more of a geometric thing, so I can take this part down lower if I need to, which I probably will. Let's go ahead and do that in this little section here. Okay, so I want this to be lower than that section. So I'm going to keep going here. But you see the clay kind of, it is a little drier. If it's really wet, it's going to clog this up, but I am creating some waste here, right? And it doesn't take very long to do that. And I've really only carved a little bit out. I do like the paper clip. It's really doing a nice job. So, and remember, you have a paper clip can be made into a lot of things, right? So this part of the paper clip is bigger than this part, so if I need to get it into a smaller area, I can do that. Or I can open this paper clip up and I have another built-in smaller area right here. So if I need to get into here, yeah, see, this is a little wetter, so it's starting to pile up. You want it to come clean in your carving tool, whatever it is you're going to use. Now, let's go. So this is the tool that I made with the metal serrated edge from parchment paper, aluminum foil, some kind, on one of the boxes, like tear the stuff away, plastic wrap. So that's what this is, right? And it is a bigger tool, right? So a bigger tool takes away a bigger area. So and this one is almost any carving tool you use is going to leave marks, right? So this is a big space. So I want to use the biggest tool that I can, but I also may need to back away from another section and just kind of see how this is going to work. Yeah, this one, and this one's telling me the clay is too wet to do this, right? The paper clip, it was working okay, but this one is clogging up. And that goes in pretty deep. And it's really easy to go in deep. So what you need to know is if your tool is clogging up too much and you're not getting a clean cut, then you need to wait or get a hair dryer. But the problem with a hair dryer is, like, for something like this, it's getting the surface a little drier, which I guess is okay, but then you kind of have to keep going out because you're carting into the middle. All right, I just did a lighter thing there. Like I said, all this stuff leaves all my tools leave some kind of mark. So, and sometimes you may like that. Sometimes you may have to go in and smooth it out. Like for this one, I probably would. I don't know. And you know, it's not like you're trying to dig a hole in the ground. So you're not sticking a shovel in and putting all your weight on it. Right? Take your time. Start light. And just kind of shave it down. So if you've ever seen the movie Goodfellas, when they're in prison, I don't know why I always think about this when they're doing it, but when they're slicing up the garlic and he's used a razor blade to slice it up, that's kind of a good idea when you're like carving with clay. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but I think this is probably going to be enough for you to get the idea of what to do, right? So you can see the different tools. Again, the paper clip works pretty good, and you can make that paper clip into something even smaller, right? Let's try that one. I'm just gonna test this on, right? So, like I said, I may keep this around for a few days. So if you know you need to see more, I can demonstrate on something. But you know, for the most part, yeah. Now the only thing with the paper clip, they are round, right? But it does kind of leaves that interesting texture. If you can incorporate texture into your, yeah, this one it clogs up too fast, right? So the actual paper clip was a good size for doing what I was doing, but again, it's at a point where I would just have to kind of slow down and get the stuff a little drier because it's pretty soft right now, and that's not really how you want to work. It's not how you can be as controlled as you need to be with a relief sculpture to make it good. Okay, so I'll put this video on your assignment, and then you know you have other things that you have to finish too, but this is here, and so you can rely on the video. You can ask me questions in class. Let's try one more thing. All right, so I don't know if any camera will see this, but this is the staple, right? The one that got used, right? Yeah, that would work. It's, you know, your fingers are gonna cramp up, but that would definitely work. If I use several staples, and let's change the shape of them. Can without breaking. If you have a pair of pliers, this is probably going to work better. But so I can kind of straighten this out. So I'm going to hold this like that and use it. Yep, definitely works. May be the greatest one of all. I don't know, but anyway, that's just another way. Yeah, so we found a lot of ways that we can carve with clay. Let's try the single staple that I stuck on here. Yeah, that one's, it works, but it's not great because it moves too much, right? Yeah.
How thick is the slab?
All right, let's measure it. It's probably closer to a 1/2 inch. It's a little. It's like 5/8. Yeah, 4/8 being half. right? Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's just an eighth of an inch over half an inch. And that'll be a good thickness. That gives you enough space to carve down and to start whittling things away. Right? All right, so I think we got all this covered. If I'll keep this around just to help you if you need help doing things. But make sure those drawings are done. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. So